What if the biggest bottleneck in the artificial intelligence revolution isn't chips or talent, but electricity itself? Right now, hyperscalers are pouring hundreds of billions into AI data centers that demand non-stop, 24/7 power on a scale the grid has never seen. And while most investors chase the next GPU maker, a quieter, more structural opportunity is unfolding in clean energy infrastructure. These are the companies actually delivering the electrons that keep the AI boom alive. The numbers are staggering. Data center electricity demand is set to roughly double by 2030, with AI workloads driving the bulk of that growth. Utilities are planning record capital, spending hundreds of billions of dollars while nuclear restarts, fuel cell deployments, renewable buildouts, and grid equipment orders are accelerating at a pace not seen in decades. Long-term power purchase agreements with Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Oracle are locking in decades of revenue for the winners. This isn't a short-term trade. It's a multi-year infrastructure supercycle. Today, we're looking at 4 clean energy infrastructure stocks positioned at the heart of this power surge: Bloom Energy, Constellation Energy, NextEra Energy, and GE Vernova. Each offers a different angle on the same massive theme, and the latest 2026 financials show the momentum is real. Let's start with Bloom Energy. This is the pure play-on-site power solution that hyperscalers are turning to when the grid simply can't keep up. Bloom's solid oxide fuel cells generate clean, reliable electricity right at the data center without combustion, cutting years off the typical interconnection wait. In the second quarter of 2026, Bloom delivered a record $1.065 billion in revenue, up 165.5% year-over-year, with product revenue surging $215 to $935 million. Gross margins expanded to 33.4% on a GAAP basis and 34.3% non-GAAP. The company swung to $182 million in operating income from a loss a year earlier and posted non-GAAP EPS of 78 cents. Management raised full-year 2026 guidance to $3.9, $4, $2 billion in revenue, roughly 100% growth at the midpoint, with non-GAAP operating income of $800–900 million and non-GAAP EPS of 255 cents to 85 cents. Backlogs and partnerships keep expanding, including multi-gigawatt deals tied to Oracle and other AI infrastructure projects. Bloom has gone from niche player to essential infrastructure for time to power. When a data center needs megawatts next year instead of 5 years from now, Bloom is often the answer. The risk is valuation and execution at scale, but the demand signal from hyperscalers has never been clearer. Moving from modular fuel cells to firm, always-on nuclear, we come to Constellation Energy. Constellation operates the largest nuclear fleet in the United States and has become the preferred partner for hyperscalers seeking carbon-free baseload. In the first quarter of 2026, the company reported adjusted operating earnings of $2.74 per share, up sharply from the prior year, and affirmed full-year guidance of $11–12 per share. Free cash flow before growth is projected at $8.4 billion across 2026–2027. rising to $11.5–13 billion in 2028–2029. Long-term nuclear power purchase agreements with Meta and Microsoft, including the high-profile restart of the former 3 Mile Island Unit 1, now the Crane Clean Energy Center, are converting merchant exposure into contracted, multi-decade cash flows. Uprates at existing plants are adding hundreds of megawatts of incremental capacity. Nuclear is no longer a political debate for these customers. It is the only proven technology that can deliver firm, zero-carbon power at the scale AI requires. Constellation sits at the center of that shift. The third name is NextEra Energy, the largest renewable energy developer in the United States and owner of Florida Power & Light. NextEra is attacking the AI power problem from multiple angles: regulated utility growth, contracted renewables and storage, and a growing pipeline of data center hubs that can include gas, batteries, and eventually nuclear. In the second quarter of 2026, adjusted EPS came in at $1.15, up 9.5% year-over-year. Energy Resources added 3.6 gigawatts of renewables and storage to its backlog, bringing the total to approximately 35.1 GW. FPL continues to track roughly 21 GW of large load hyperscaler interest, with about 12 GW in advanced discussions. The company is also advancing projects such as the Duane Arnold nuclear restart for Google and a massive $100 billion data center campus partnership with Brookfield at a former uranium site in Kentucky. Management is targeting the high end of its 2026 adjusted EPS range of $3.92-$4.02 and an 8% plus compound annual growth rate through the early 2030s. NextEra offers scale, diversification, and a dividend that grows with the business rare qualities in a pure infrastructure story. Finally, the company that builds the turbines and grid equipment the entire system depends on, GE Vernova. In the second quarter of 2026, orders surged 88% organically to $24.2 billion. Revenue rose 22% to $11.1 billion. Adjusted EBITDA reached $1.2 billion, with margins expanding meaningfully, and free cash flow hit $5.1 billion in a single quarter, more than the entire prior year. The backlog climbed to $176 billion. Gas turbine equipment backlog and slot reservations grew to 116 GW, with management now targeting at least 125 GW by year-end 2026. Data center-related electrification orders already exceeded $5 billion in the first half of the year. GE Vernova is raising full-year 2026 revenue guidance to $46.5 billion and free cash flow guidance to $12.5 billion. When utilities and hyperscalers need new generation and transmission capacity, they are lining up at GE Vernova's door. The order book visibility is among the strongest in the industrial sector. These four companies form a complementary stack. Bloom solves the near-term power now problem with modular fuel cells. Constellation supplies firm nuclear baseload under long-term contracts. NextEra scales renewables, storage, and hybrid hubs at utility scale. GE Vernova manufactures the turbines, transformers, and grid hardware that make the whole system possible. Together, they capture different layers of the same structural shortage: reliable, clean electrons for AI. The risks are real valuation, execution delays, regulatory friction, and the possibility that power demand growth moderates. But the underlying driver is not speculative. Hyperscalers are signing 20-year contracts because they cannot afford to wait. Capital is flowing. Backlogs are expanding. And the companies delivering the infrastructure are converting that demand into rising revenue, expanding margins, and stronger cash flow. For long-term investors, the AI data center power boom is not just another theme. It is one of the largest infrastructure build-outs of our generation. The stocks that own the critical pieces of that build-out, Bloom Energy, Constellation Energy, NextEra Energy, and GE Vernova, are already showing the financial results. The question is no longer whether the power shortage is real. The question is, which of these clean energy infrastructure leaders will compound the fastest as the grid races to keep up with artificial intelligence?